My ex is dating my cousin because she's jealous that our daughter likes my girlfriend. But after a dinner where my cousin wants my daughter to call him Dad, I ask for full custody. My ex-wife Lauren is 32, and I am 33. We got married when we were 24. Everything went well the first year. We both found jobs, we rented a small apartment near downtown, and we spent weekends at farmers markets. But then Lauren got pregnant. It wasn't planned, but neither of us was unhappy about the news. In fact, we were excited. Our daughter was born when we were 26. After she arrived, everything changed. Lauren left her job to stay home with the baby because we couldn't rely on anyone to help take care of her. I started working more hours to cover the difference. By the time I came home every night, we were both so exhausted that there was no energy for anything else. That's how relationships were down, when instead of talking about interesting things, you only talk about baby appointments and how your boss is a pain in the ass. The fighting started about 6 months after our daughter was born. Lauren said I wasn't helping enough, which wasn't true because on weekends, when I was home, I took care of the majority of things for my daughter. During the week it was difficult when I had to work 10 to 12 hours. She said I didn't understand how hard it was to be alone with a baby all day. It got ugly quickly. We tried to make it work for the sake of our daughter, but when she turned 2, we both knew the best thing was to end it. The divorce was surprisingly smooth because even though we were sick of each other, we agreed that divorce was the best path for everyone, including our daughter. We agreed on shared custody with alternating weeks. My daughter would spend 1 week with me and 1 week with Lauren. We did the exchange on Sundays at 6 in the evening. For the next 4 years, this arrangement worked perfectly. Lauren got a job and some family help and babysitters to care for our daughter. I got promoted and also found some help that wasn't available during our marriage for reasons that aren't important here. With my new salary plus Lauren's job, it was easier to hire help. And our daughter was only at each home about 2 weeks a month, so there were only 2 weeks when we had to figure out who would watch her while we were working. My hours also dropped considerably since I didn't need as much money. We were cordial during exchanges and when we had to coordinate anything about our daughter over the phone. We both dated people from time to time, but nothing serious. We had an unspoken rule not to introduce our daughter to anyone unless it was a serious relationship. Our daughter was fine. She never complained about the arrangement. She had her own room in both houses, her own toys, her own routines. It seemed like we had achieved the impossible, a divorce that didn't destroy our daughter. A year ago, I met my girlfriend, who is 29. I liked her a lot, but more importantly, she seemed to like the idea that I had a daughter. After 6 months of dating, I knew it was different from what I'd had since the divorce. I asked Lauren if she would be okay with my girlfriend meeting our daughter, and she said there was no problem. She wanted everything to be as smooth as possible for everyone. My girlfriend met my daughter for the first time, and they got along immediately, maybe too well. From then on, she started being present in my daughter's life. She would come over and stay some nights if it was my week with my daughter. They did things together, like watching a movie or even helping her with homework. Lauren really liked spending time with my daughter and with me, and everything went pretty well, until problems started with my ex. One day, she asked me to meet to talk about something important regarding our daughter. We always handled things over the phone or during exchanges, so it seemed serious. She told me she wanted to meet my girlfriend before things went further. I didn't know why it was necessary, but Lauren insisted it was for our daughter's safety and well-being. I arranged a lunch for the two of them to meet, something my girlfriend agreed to because she wanted everything to go well. The lunch was 2 weeks later. My girlfriend, Lauren, and I sat at a corner table to talk quietly, and it was a good idea. The conversation was stiff. Lauren asked my girlfriend about her job, where she grew up, what her family was like. More than a lunch, it felt like a job interview for a maximum security position. My girlfriend answered everything politely, although it felt rude to me. In the end, Lauren said my girlfriend seemed fine, but she hoped I would be careful about the example I was setting for our daughter. When I asked what she meant, she replied that she only wanted what was best for our daughter. In the following weeks, I noticed Lauren's messages became shorter and colder. She started asking to change custody days at the last minute, something she had never done before. 3 weeks ago, Lauren showed up at my house on a Friday afternoon to talk. It was her week with our daughter. So I was alone, and our daughter was with one of Lauren's relatives. I brought Lauren into the kitchen. She looked nervous, but also defiant, like she was preparing for a fight. She needed to tell me something before I heard it somewhere else. She was seeing someone, and it wasn't casual. It was serious. I said that was fine, since I had always encouraged her to date someone when she was ready. But when she said serious, she meant serious problems, because it was my cousin. I just stared at her. My cousin, who is 28, is the son of my mother's sister. When we were kids, our families lived in the same neighborhood. You could say I didn't have siblings, but my cousin filled that role throughout our childhood, especially the competitive part. After the divorce, he started texting me more. He wanted to grab some beers, catch up, act like we were close. I mostly ignored him because I already had my hands full with work and my daughter. I asked Lauren how long it had been, and she answered that it had been a month. They met at a park, started talking, exchanged numbers, and the rest is history. She claimed they had real chemistry and that she wasn't going to apologize for moving on with her life. I told her I didn't care who she dated, but my cousin was a terrible choice. And some people might say, OP is just jealous, but trust me, my cousin is bad news. She got defensive and informed me that I had no right to comment on her relationships. I said fine, but that she needed to keep him away from my daughter until I was comfortable. But she said that wasn't fair, because I had introduced our daughter to my girlfriend. I pointed out that I had asked her permission before doing so. My relationship was more serious, and it would be confusing for our daughter for her mother to start dating my cousin. She replied that she didn't care, and that she wanted to do the same. Then she doubled down, saying she was going to take our daughter to dinner with my cousin that night. I said absolutely not. But she answered that it was her custody week and she would do whatever she wanted. To me, she was being reckless. To her, I was being controlling. We went back and forth until Lauren turned around and left. I didn't sleep that night. I kept checking my phone, waiting for a message from Lauren saying she had changed her mind. Nothing. The next day, Saturday, Lauren brought my daughter to my house at 10 in the morning. She wasn't supposed to return her until Sunday afternoon. Apparently, our daughter had been quiet all morning and only spoke to ask to come to my house. Lauren thought maybe she wasn't feeling well. I took my daughter inside, and Lauren left. My daughter went straight to her room without saying anything. I followed her and found her sitting on the bed, staring at the floor. I asked if she was okay. She didn't answer for several minutes. Then she started crying. It took almost an hour to get the full story. The dinner was at a place near Lauren's apartment. My cousin was already waiting. During the meal, he called her sweetie and little one in a way that made her uncomfortable. Then he started joking about being her new dad. He told her she should practice calling him dad instead of his name. My daughter thought he was joking and laughed, but he kept insisting. Now that he and Lauren were together, he would be around all the time, and it would be easier if she started calling him dad right away. My daughter told him she already had a dad. My cousin argued, sure, but now you have two dads. Isn't that great? My daughter looked at Lauren, searching for help, but Lauren just kept eating her salad without saying anything. My cousin became more insistent, saying that if my daughter was going to be difficult, it would complicate things for everyone. He didn't raise his voice or openly insult her, but his tone made it clear it wasn't a joke anymore. My daughter spent the rest of the dinner in silence. When they returned to Lauren's apartment, my daughter wanted to go to my house, but Lauren told her no, that she had to stay until Sunday. My daughter cried herself to sleep. The next morning, she told Lauren again that she wanted to leave. Lauren gave in and brought her back. While telling me everything, my daughter asked if she had to go back to Lauren's house the following week. I called my lawyer first thing Monday morning. I explained the situation and asked what my options were. The option was that I could file for an emergency custody modification due to emotional distress. It wouldn't be easy, but if I could show that my daughter's well-being was at risk, a judge could temporarily adjust the agreement. I filed the paperwork that afternoon. 3 days later, Lauren was notified. She called me immediately, screaming that I was trying to take our daughter away because of one bad dinner. When I told her it wasn't about the dinner, it was about her judgment and about allowing my cousin to intimidate our daughter, she hung up. 2 days later, I started seeing posts. Lauren had posted that I was jealous of her happiness, and that now that she was starting a new relationship, I was trying to ruin the custody arrangement just to ruin her moment. At no point did she mention that she was dating my cousin, or that it sounded like she was the jealous one because of my girlfriend. Lauren's family seemed to be supporting her no matter what, despite the detail that she was dating my cousin. I don't know if everyone knew that detail, but at least her parents did. They had no issue with it. Even though I didn't like the idea of my cousin for many reasons, who she dated wasn't really my business. But given everything that had happened, it was a problem. My own family reacted in mixed ways. My parents were horrified when I told them what my cousin did. They know him too well not to be. My mother called her sister and confronted her. It didn't go well, because my aunt defended her son and claimed that my daughter was just trying to get attention. My mother yelled that she was the second idiot in the family, and that she had lost first place because of her son, though not by much. She also ordered her to stay away from her granddaughter, which also included her son. My father supported me too, but the problem wasn't his sister's son. The problem is this: my cousin had a troubled teenage years, with some substance abuse, mostly alcohol, but we can't rule out other things during that period of his life. Now he claims to be sober, and I can almost believe him. But I wish Lauren had taken things slowly instead of rushing into this. In fact, it all seems like too much of a coincidence to be a relationship that happened naturally. In our arguments, she has mentioned some things that make me think she is jealous of my girlfriend, not because of me, but because she connected so well with our daughter. However, my daughter has never called my girlfriend Mom, at least not in front of us. It's like Lauren is trying to win some kind of competition about which parent's partner is loved more or something like that. The custody hearing is scheduled for next month. My lawyer says we have a case if my daughter has been affected by all of this, but it is not a guaranteed win. If she hasn't suffered any real trauma from this, it won't be easy. Lauren has also been a good mother in general, and judges don't like taking a child away from a mother unless there is clear evidence of harm. My daughter's testimony will be crucial, but my lawyer is worried. My girlfriend has been supportive through all of this. She has been staying more at her own place to give me space. She said she would understand if I needed to pause our relationship until this was resolved. And although I appreciated the gesture, I would rather have her by my side right now. My daughter has been very attached to me since that dinner and doesn't want to go back to her mother's house. I have tried to explain what the custody agreement means and things like that, but I don't know if she fully understands. All she keeps repeating is that she doesn't want to go back with her mother, and she doesn't want to see my cousin again. She knew him from some family events, but she never had to experience anything like this. In fact, I'm starting to think there's more to it than just him pressuring her to call him Dad. Edit: I don't think it's worth listing the things my cousin did during his addiction stage. My mother knows very well what they were because she had to live through them. I'm someone who believes in giving second chances, but when it comes to my daughter, I'd rather play it safe. That's why I preferred to wait until things with Lauren were more serious, because even though years have passed since he rehabilitated, addiction struggles last a lifetime. While this may not be directly related to that, or at least that's what I know, my cousin's behavior, based on what my daughter described, doesn't seem normal either. Update 1, the custody hearing was yesterday. I need to write this while it's still fresh, because I can't believe what came out in that courtroom. The weeks leading up to it were hard. My daughter stayed with me the whole time because a temporary agreement was granted until this was resolved. The judge accepted it based on a prior meeting between my daughter and a court social worker. Lauren had supervised visits twice a week at a family center in the city. My daughter went, but it wasn't very good because she didn't want to open up with her mother. After those visits, Lauren would usually post online about how horrible it was as a mother to be separated from her daughter. She told a distorted version of what happened during the supervised visits, claiming our daughter cried because she didn't want to be separated from her. That wasn't what was happening. Unfortunately, my lawyer advised me against contradicting her in the middle of all this. First, because it would be my word against hers. I wasn't going to film the interaction between mother and daughter just to prove my point. I wasn't going to expose my daughter just so some strangers and random idiots could see it. And if I only wrote my version, it would be my word against hers. My cousin showed up at my house one night, about 2 weeks before the hearing. I had just put my daughter to bed and was cleaning the kitchen when I heard pounding on the door. I looked through the peephole and saw him. I didn't open. He kept knocking and eventually started yelling that he knew I was inside and that we needed to talk. I called the police. When they arrived, he was already gone. The officers took my statement and said they would document it. My lawyer used that report in court. He also submitted the messages my cousin had sent me, including several where he called me pathetic and said I was jealous that Lauren had moved on. There was one where he said I was doing all of this because my daughter would eventually realize that I was the problem and would want to spend more time with him and Lauren. Lauren's lawyer tried to argue that I was taking things out of context. She presented character witnesses who spoke about what a devoted mother Lauren had been. Her sister testified that Lauren called her daily, crying because she missed my daughter. Lauren's mother said I was acting out of spite because Lauren had found happiness. Then they reviewed a session with a court psychologist, with a longer meeting with my daughter. The first meeting had been preliminary. More details from that dinner came out. To start, my cousin had been drinking alcohol along with Lauren. Yes, the same recovering addict. My daughter obviously didn't describe it in those terms, but she gave details that there was a bottle shaped like a wine bottle and that both of them were drinking. Also, my cousin was much more aggressive than my daughter had initially told me. She was afraid to say it, but she opened up to the court worker who specializes in these cases. Lastly, they were inappropriate in front of her, mainly my cousin, who was being far too affectionate with Lauren, even though she seemed to be trying to tell him no. That's what we were able to get from what a child said, and it sounded pretty bad. The judge asked for a recess after the psychologist testified, and requested time because he needed to review additional material. We waited in the hallway for more than an hour. Lauren sat at the other end with her lawyer and her family. No one spoke between us. When we returned to the courtroom, the judge announced his decision. He granted me full custody, but Lauren would have visitation every other weekend, from Saturday morning to Sunday afternoon, on the condition that my cousin could not be present during any of those visits. The judge said my daughter had been clear about her discomfort and fear regarding my cousin, and that Lauren's lack of reaction at the dinner showed poor judgment. He also pointed out that the lies on social media painted a bad picture of her as a mother. Lauren started crying. Her lawyer requested a stay to appeal, but the judge denied it. He said the order was effective immediately. That night, my aunt called me to scream at me for what I had done to my cousin and Lauren. According to my aunt, now everyone knew about his relapse, which tells me she knew as well. My mother wasn't happy with my aunt either, but their relationship had already been pretty bad before this information came out. I told her that her son should seek help for his own good, and I hung up. My mother called a few hours later because my aunt had sent a mass email to the entire extended family, accusing me of making up stories about my cousin to win custody. The email claimed that my daughter had been coached to say those things and that my cousin was completely sober. My mother replied, copying everyone, but she wanted me to know what was going on in the family. The following days were calm. My girlfriend came over most nights and helped with dinner and homework. Last weekend was Lauren's first visit. I dropped my daughter off at the family center at 9 on Saturday. Lauren was already there. My daughter walked slowly toward her mother, but she didn't hug her. Lauren tried to talk to her, but my daughter only nodded or shook her head. They left together, and I went to wait out those 24 hours. It's clear that I don't like this arrangement, but it's what the judge ordered. That night, my daughter told me that Lauren cried a lot during the visit and asked her why she said those things to the judge. Lauren started telling her that she hurt her and made everyone think she was a bad mother. My lawyer already knows about these things. Yesterday I received a text from my cousin. It said that Lauren had broken up with him and blamed me for ruining their relationship. Lauren was a mess since she lost shared custody and couldn't handle a relationship. I blocked his number after reading it. This morning my lawyer called me. Lauren's lawyer contacted him to modify the visitation schedule, since Lauren wants to return to the previous arrangement. Her argument is that my daughter has already adapted and everything has calmed down, so there's no reason for limited visits. We responded no, that these things don't adjust to Lauren's mood swings. I also asked my daughter the next morning at breakfast if she wanted to spend more time with her mother. She said she didn't know. I asked if she felt safe at Lauren's house, and she said yes, but only if my cousin wasn't there. I explained that he would not be allowed during visits, and she asked how I could be sure. When I told her the judge ordered it, she thought for a minute and asked if we could just leave everything the way it is. If Lauren wants to modify the agreement, she will have to file her own motion and we will go back to court. For now, everything remains the same. Lauren's social media has been quiet after she deleted her posts. I don't know if she did it because it was the right thing to do or because she wants to look good. In the end, during her visit, she pressured our daughter again not to say things that make her look bad. My lawyer has asked me to wait and see how Lauren behaves during the next visits. With this, it's possible they won't take away her visits entirely, so it's better to wait. Update 2. Lauren filed 3 weeks ago for a hearing to modify custody. The date is next month. Her lawyer sent a thick package of materials, including sworn statements from her family, a psychological evaluation she voluntarily underwent, and a statement from a counselor she has been seeing. They basically argue that she has done the work to address the concerns from the previous hearing and deserves equal custody. My lawyer reviewed everything and said her case is stronger than he would like. The psychological evaluation shows no red flags. The counselor's statement talks about how Lauren has been processing the situation and learning better boundaries. Her family statements say she has been a devoted mother and that the current arrangement is too restrictive. But then something happened that no one expected. 2 weeks ago, my daughter was at her regular visit with Lauren. I dropped her off Saturday morning as usual. Everything seemed normal. On Sunday afternoon, when I picked her up, my daughter was quiet again, but not shut down like before. She seemed thoughtful, not scared. We got home, and she went to her room to put away her bag. A few minutes later, she came into the kitchen, where I was starting dinner, and asked to talk. I sat with her at the table and waited. My daughter said something had happened at Lauren's house that weekend. Lauren's parents were there most of Saturday. They brought food and spent the afternoon watching her play in the yard. Everything was fine until my daughter overheard Lauren and her mother talking in the kitchen while she was getting a glass of water. Lauren's mother was telling her to stop being so emotional during visits because it made my daughter uncomfortable. Lauren said she couldn't help it because she missed her, and the situation was unbearable. Then Lauren told her mother that she never should have gotten involved with my cousin, that it was a stupid decision made out of spite. Seeing me move forward with my girlfriend and seeing how happy my daughter was with her, she wanted to hurt me back. When she ran into my cousin at that park, she knew exactly what she was doing. She knew it would bother me. My daughter, who heard all of this, didn't understand everything, but she did understand that Lauren was with my cousin to upset me. The next morning I called my lawyer and explained what my daughter had overheard. She was okay, but the situation was complicated for a child her age to fully understand correctly. It wasn't the same as something she had seen with her own eyes, just something she heard. But then something else happened. My cousin was admitted into rehab again. That wouldn't be surprising, except for the fact that as part of his program, he agreed to make amends for some things, including sending me an apology letter for what he did. There were many things in it about when we were younger and had our differences. But also what happened in recent times. To begin with, Lauren hadn't met him in a park, but in a bar. That's where they had their first date, after she contacted him. And to make this absolutely clear, Lauren knew about his addictions. And even though it wasn't Lauren's idea to go there, it should have been the first red flag that an addict would ask to meet in a place like that. They serve non-alcoholic drinks in those places, but it's still far too much temptation for someone fighting their own demons. He went on to confess that Lauren had insisted it would be good if our daughter called him Dad, and she was fine with them drinking that night to relax things and make it feel more casual. He also admitted that they were very affectionate with each other, as my daughter said. Nothing openly explicit, but still far too much to do in front of a child. Yesterday, my lawyer submitted this handwritten letter from my cousin, which was authenticated by an expert to confirm it was his handwriting, in case he was later subpoenaed and tried to deny it. This has suspended Lauren's visits until a final decision is made. My daughter seems fine. She's doing well in school and has made a new friend. The hearing next month will determine what happens with custody. My lawyer believes this new information about my cousin will help, but he warned me not to get overconfident. My ex is still painting a very positive picture of herself, rehabilitated, so to speak, and that could influence the judge. Everything will depend on how serious the matter is, and maybe on whether my cousin agrees to testify and provide more details. I trust that his treatment works and that he will do the right thing in the end. But right now, it feels like a chess match, where any piece you move can cause problems several moves later. Update 3. The hearing was last week. I'm writing this from my living room while my daughter sleeps upstairs and my girlfriend is in the kitchen making tea. The last few weeks have been a lot, and I need to write it down before I lose details. Lauren's lawyer came prepared. She brought a child psychologist to testify about the importance of the mother-daughter bond, and how limited visitation can damage it in the long term. She brought Lauren's counselor to explain the work Lauren has done to process her emotions and improve her judgment. 3 of Lauren's co-workers testified about how responsible and caring she is professionally. Lauren herself testified about how much she missed my daughter and how she had learned from her mistakes. It was effective. I saw the judge taking notes and seeming moved at times. Then my lawyer presented our side. He called my cousin to testify. He explained everything he had said in his letter, but also expanded on it with more details. He apologized for what he did and explained that this was part of his recovery, making amends for past mistakes. The judge asked him several sharp questions about why he was speaking up now and whether he had hidden motives. He said his only motive was telling the truth, even if it made him look bad too. We submitted a report from the Supervised Visitation Center. The supervisor documented that during visits, Lauren displayed inappropriate behavior. If my daughter wasn't very enthusiastic about going with her, Lauren pressured her instead of trying to comfort her and talk calmly. Finally, after a lot of suspense, the judge ordered an end to supervised visits and granted me full custody, 100%. There was a lot of shouting in the courtroom, especially from my ex and her family, while her lawyer tried to speak to the judge. But that was it, and we went home. That was 5 days ago. Yesterday I received a message from Lauren. She had no filter, because she thinks she has nothing left to lose. I don't think that's true, because if she tries again to modify the agreement, all of this is evidence of her state. She called me every name imaginable, and also insulted my parents, my girlfriend, and even my cousin. It will be saved in case we need it in the future. My cousin has left rehab, and now comes the hardest part, staying sober without the support you get inside those centers. My aunt is not speaking to my mother right now, but I know some things through other relatives. And even though I want to stay far away from my cousin, I truly hope he can overcome this. Addiction is no joke. But as far as I'm concerned, I will stay away, especially for my daughter's sake. The relationship between my girlfriend and my daughter has grown stronger. My daughter asks my girlfriend's opinion now, what to wear to school, how to draw a certain animal, whether a joke is funny. My girlfriend is not a replacement for Lauren, but she has become an important part of my daughter's life. I'm grateful, because I know how hard it is to date someone with a child. It hasn't affected her directly, but she has been there for me in my darkest moments. Last night, my daughter asked if I was going to marry my girlfriend. I asked where that came from. Apparently, a friend at school said that when a dad has a girlfriend for a long time, they usually get married. It completely threw me off. I hadn't thought about it. But now I can't stop asking myself the question. I won't do it anytime soon, but I think my daughter has a valid point. Still, I think it's too early to take that step. I don't know if the current arrangement will last, or if Lauren will eventually request a modification. I don't know if my cousin will recover or fall back into old habits. But I do know this is coming to an end, and I won't have anything to tell you for a while. Update 4. Just to give a timeline, the last time I posted here was a little over 3 years ago. So I'm bringing a life update, if that's allowed in this sub. I want to talk about what my life has been like, how my daughter is, and what happened with my ex and my cousin. My daughter is doing very well, thriving even though she has continued to stay away from her mother. Lauren tried to get some kind of arrangement that would allow her to see her, and she partially succeeded, but more on that later. The important thing is that my daughter is okay, and she has not replaced her mother with my now wife, as Lauren and some people always seem to think. I think their relationship is more like friends right now. I don't know how to explain it, but they seem like sisters or best friends. I married her about 6 months ago, after we had been dating for more than 3 years. If I remember correctly, I eventually proposed, like I said I was thinking about in my previous update, but much later. In fact, we discussed it together for a while until we were both comfortable with the idea, and then I made it official with a ring and everything. My daughter was the most excited of all. She danced at the wedding with me, my wife, my parents, and anyone who still had legs to keep up. That's what happens when you play soccer at school. My cousin hasn't had any relapses that I know of. I've seen him a couple of times and he seems okay. He has apologized to me, but he has not seen my daughter again by my decision. On the 2 occasions I saw him, my daughter was not present. If he has returned to old habits, I truly don't know. He may be hiding it very well. I can't say. I sincerely hope not, but it's not my problem anymore. It's more of a wish, because of all the trouble it could cause. As for my ex, she requested custody again 1 year after my last post. She was granted supervised visits at a center, but they did not go well. My daughter was older and more vocal about her discomfort with her mother. Lauren tried to make things better, but she lost patience easily. Eventually, the visits stopped, and she never asked about her daughter again. Until then, at least, she tried to get updates about her maybe once a week. After that, absolutely nothing. The last time I heard about Lauren was when she found out I was getting married. She had a few things to say about me, about my wedding, about my fiancé, and even about the dog we adopted. But I didn't give it much importance. The rest of my life has been good, very little drama, which is exactly how I like it.